One Nation, Diverse Voices. Exploring the shift from regional to national content, this synopsis delves into the trends and challenges. It navigates the transformation, analyzing industry dynamics, emerging trends, and the hurdles faced. From preserving regional variation to adapting to a broader audience, it examines the multifaceted journey of regional content evolving into a nation narrative. In what ways do the emerging trends and challenges influence the dynamics of the industry during the transition? How can creators navigate these changes effectively? What strategic approaches can content creators adopt to strike a balance between maintaining regional identity and fostering a cohesive national narrative in their work? How can the transition from regional to national content impact cultural diversity within the entertainment industry, and what measures can be taken to ensure the preservation of regional variation? For this, I would like to call our speakers PR Satheesh, Chief Executive Officer, MMTV; Rabindra Narayan, MD and President, PTC Network; Ajay Bhalwankar, Business Head, Sony Marathi; Saurabh Srivastava, COO, Digital, Shemaroo Entertainment. And this session chair will be Raghav Anand, Partner, Ernst & Young, LLP.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for joining in. And this is, I'm personally very excited to be part of this panel. We have spoken a lot about the emerging content from Indian languages, and what a panel to have somebody who runs an entire Northern Punjabi broadcast films, to somebody who handles Malayalam, Marathi, and beyond, and somebody who sort of cuts across languages and distributes this. So really interesting panel to have, and the next 45 minutes we will try and go into different aspects of how how Indian language content, and we've really discussed about not calling it regional, because no longer is it regional, right? It's going beyond borders. So to kickstart it, if somebody could put up a few slides. As a consultant, can't speak without slides, right? We need stats out there somewhere, right? So I would rather just set the stage with some data and then begin this entire story. Of course, we don't have to talk about how consumption trends in India are really growing. But on the regional side, you will see that the share of content released has really grown up, and there is a huge number of language-oriented content which is coming in, right? And if you look at titles produced by language in OTT, today, for the first time in 2023, 52% of the content came from Indian languages and not the Hindi language. That's a real break, which means that in OTT already we are beyond 50%, and going forward we'll be touching 60-70% there. And the other part you will see is very interesting. 82% of the movies released in 2023 are regional, and 52% of the theatrical revenue came from in the Indian languages, not the pan-India language, right? So that also says that even in the theatrical revenues, the Indian languages are dominating from that perspective. And then you add 5 to 7 dubbed versions of every local Indian language film coming out, that share goes to about 42% of the movies, totally crossed about 1 billion from a South movie perspective. So all of these are interesting stats which really say that the power of Indian language content has come to fore. So I think there's no debate about, our people. 10 years back, I remember being on stage like this and really discussing, is regional content going to grow? Will there be a viewership? I think we are beyond all of that, right? So gentlemen, I'm going to start with the first part, which is to say, if it is beyond 50% and 80% in some of the cases, what is driving this? What are the real drivers here?
See, as we spoke and we used to speak about Hindi language content and versus regional language. And we spoke some time back, this regional tag came in because of Doordarshan, where, broadcast is to be national and regional. That was largely a technological issue or challenge at that point of time. Today, if you look at the technology itself has changed this, and Today on Hindi film channels, more or less 40% of content is dubbed content from language films. So when we talk about languages, it gets a nuance. It gets a very specific nuance. When you talk about a Marathi, then a Maharashtrian, then you talk about a certain value system that comes attached to it. And that's what makes the content much more powerful, much more impactful, much more believable. See, finally, as creators, we are all talking about make-believe.
Yes.
And that make-believe gets strengthened because of the language nuance that we have.
Correct.
So that language plays a very, very important role.
So language gives that connect, that drives
authenticity.
Yeah.
That's very, very... Gangs of Wasseypur can't be done in some other language,
Some
right?
other
So
language.
it had to be done in that. So similarly, Sairat was to be done in Marathi context.
Right.
So this context setting matters, I think, a lot. You go closer to the audiences, and that's something that has worked. And that's the very reason when we've seen in Maharashtra market, if you see Marathi content overtakes Hindi above a good margin.
Yes.
The reason is people who are in Maharashtra are able to believe that fiction better
and connect to that.
Connect to that.
So the audience consumption is certainly one driver. Anything else, Rabindra? That is
Yeah, see, I'll add to what Ajay said. The regional term actually came from the region. All these channels were targeted at a particular region. Punjabi was targeted at Punjab, Marathi was for Maharashtra, and so on and so forth. With the advent of technology, first came the cable, which took you beyond Doordarshan. Then came the satellite, which gave you pan-India reach amongst the audience of that region, which was spread across. So a Punjabi living in Delhi or in Bombay or in Tamil Nadu could access the same content which his family or friends were accessing in Punjab. Now it has turned global. Wherever the audience is in the world, the technology has made it possible that you can reach all of them. Until a couple of years ago, to reach the global audience, you had to create a separate beam. Again, hire either a satellite or take a fiber connection, P2P, and then transmit it to operators in those particular countries and then broadcast. With the availability of global platforms, the distribution platforms, the broadband and all those other connectivity issues, the region is a term which we should give up now.
Give up.
It's a global audience.
Right.
The globe is the audience, and very soon the language will also not be a barrier. I'll make a serial in Marathi or a Punjabi. The same actor's voice will be cloned and dubbed into any language of the world. The technology is available now. And the same series will be available in Spanish, in Portuguese, in English, in Punjabi, in Hindi, in Tamil, Telugu, same. Same actor's voice, you don't even need to ask the actors to come in and dub it.
Yeah.
The content revolution now is making regional into a global phenomenon.
Global phenomenon. And that is, very interesting points. Before I get to that part of the dubbing, I think very interesting things. You spoke about how the entire consumption, the audience, say, even in a dual language market like Maharashtra, for example, Marathi is leading the national language, right? And you were talking about how that has gone from a particular region to national to global now, right? And your audience now cuts across Canada, Pakistan, Punjab, and all of that. So clearly, language-specific content is growing. And as we are seeing here, it's growing on the OTT side, things also. Increasingly, language content is becoming language agnostic. For the first time, media is beyond borders, right? And I know of a lot of animation companies running on YouTube. 92% of their audience comes from outside India. So it's a very diverse population. Now, does that change the economics? And again, for somebody like you, who takes content and distributes to 200 different platforms and so on and so forth. Previously, the economics used to be marred by what is available in advertising there, what is possible. Do you see the economics of the whole thing changing now that the consumption is different, the audience is different, the geographies are different?
Like I'll speak from digital frame of reference because that is what I'm doing. But being from broadcast industry earlier, What has happened is there's like we are billion people consuming probably trillions of minutes of video digitally, and when you have so much democratization of content consumption, there's bound to be more empowerment, like more rooted creation also. Like democratization will also happen on creator side, and we get lot more talent and makers which are coming, which are not, which don't, they don't have to try to be authentic, as in they only make what they are. That is effortlessly authentic. Other thing is, so it has opened, like with technology, with platforms, with digital growing OTT and digital channels, it has opened new revenue streams. So we are able to also monetize it. And these are early days of monetization. No OTT platform will come and say that we have cracked the model of monetization. If they would say it here before that, they would have sold the process to someone. But these three things are happening. And my point is, if different languages, Indian languages, and when we say, we are basically talking about paradigm where Hindi is one large connecting language and there are other languages which are content. So the first, obviously, development happened where there was a language barrier in consumption. Obviously, people did not speak Hindi at all. But in second stage, it is happening, like he spoke about Maharashtra, for example. A lot of people are bilingual, but still there is a lot of value in consuming content which is rooted in your own cultural context. And there are some stories which can only be told in your cultural context, and there is need for that. Earlier, that supply was not being met because people were making, probably people were trying to make, but that was outside inside view. Now people who are making it are insiders. Similar thing in, like, we have, like, one of the markets we are very significantly invested and focused on is Gujarat. Gujarat is a market, consumers are used to watching Hindi content, and there's nothing wrong in that. But we still think that there are certain stories which only can be told in Gujarati if they were to have soul. And then there is that value. And that is what we are striving to do. And thankfully, the technology enables us to monetize it also across, whether it is form of, largely we are doing it through subscription model on OTT. And we see encouraging sign, like in a market like Gujarat, if people are paying me subscription, those are the people who can really, who know the value propositions very well.
No, absolutely, very interesting. Two things that you said. One, you're saying the barrier has come down. Now you could actually make that content distribute. And there are alternative monetization, not to say that they are very big, but they are coming up, whether it is subscription, transactions, telco distribution, and all of that. And that is aiding this market, given, previously to set up a channel, you need hundreds of crores. Now you don't need that. So distribution and that barrier coming down and monetization going up is making regional stronger. Yeah. And Satheesh, you have been in this business for probably, longest. You launched, national channels, but now Malayalam is a very interesting topic, right? You have one of the most educated population, diaspora, but also, in my personal belief, the guys who make really script-oriented content, right? Now, you guys are already leading some innovations. We were talking about some of this. So when you see multiple revenue streams, and when you talk about Indian language content such as Malayalam growing out, how do you see the market and some of the innovations that you are talking about? How are you looking at that?
So before I come to innovations, I think I add a couple of points to what my fellow speakers spoke about. I think quality of content will determine, and not the language of content. It's already sort of becoming that. If Korean language is consumed so much in this country, I think quality of content will determine what someone is going to watch. So while technology must have helped all of us to distribute content to people across the globe from what it used to be 10, 20 years ago, right? So that has completely changed. Technology has enabled viewership and given us a global diaspora. Now, how good your quality will determine. While Malayalam is being spoken about for the last 4 years, it probably was always as good or even better. So it's just that people have got to see some of the content that is being made in that part of the world. And as far as technology is concerned, I think lots can happen. I don't want to be a soothsayer and saying what will happen tomorrow, what might happen tomorrow might change day after tomorrow. We can adapt and use technology to our advantage, both from content creation and from distribution perspective. And use AI within content, bring in a dual play, etc., is a big possibility. We're already working in doing some of that in our television, non-fiction shows, etc. So I think that will happen. Maybe we can do it quicker than larger language-speaking markets where people in the linear broadcast space. I think it's only a matter of time before everybody starts doing that. So AI, etc., is definitely going to come. Language, translations, etc., happening on the fly. How accurately can we do things on the fly instead of waiting to go to the studio and dub content and redistribute, etc., etc. I think quality will determine how well we are accepted. The Asian diaspora, the Southeast Asian diaspora, I think clearly is a market for us. The Korean drama was consumed, I think it emotionally connected to all of us. One could sit and watch and find the umma and appa being used in Korean language, and it resonated with every one of us in this room, I guess, or beyond. So I think that and the quality determined consumption. So that will continue, while technology will enable distribution and creation both.
That's again interesting given what you also said, which is two things. One, clearly quality will drive. It is not about, and then because it is language agnostic, AI or AI is already doing translations, doing subtitling, it's doing dubbing. We also have visual dub. It will change the facial features to make it look like you're speaking that particular language. So that is there. And you spoke about content creators now creating content in multiple places, right? So on one end, quality will drive it. Technology is facilitating for anybody to create content across the world in any language from that perspective. Now, in this mirror of things, how do you see, especially, do you think it will be a language-led market, or is it going to be just about each one carving out their audience buckets and translating it? How do you see this?
See, for me, I think it's the content that is watched. The content that people are missing, if you give that, people watch you.
Will watch.
You duplicate something which is already running. Ek aur saas bhi bahu agar bana doge, nobody is interested. So you have to innovate. The content has to be strong. Once it's a strong content, what I'm saying is that the technology is now available to give you a global audience. This is what the success of Hollywood movies was. They could successfully market their content across the globe because the language was acceptable everywhere. Now I'm saying that barrier of making your own language available to everyone, understandable to everyone, is gone.
Correct.
You can give it to them in their language, their understanding, but the content has to be good enough.
Good enough.
If the content is good enough, it now has the potential to get you money from everywhere in the world, not just your region.
Fantastic. Now, which means that the barriers are breaking down. Content can truly go global. A creator, if he has quality, can really reach out across the place. But the challenges, right? It's not an easy market still from a monetization perspective.
Yeah, monetization will always have challenges because you're, finally, what is monetization? The expenses that you incur and how you're meeting them and how you're getting more than what you're spending. So when it comes to that, what technology enables you is to monetize it in different ways. Today, my digital revenues probably are equivalent or more than my distribution revenues. So that this change will happen, and this change has always happened. It is not that it is something new that is happening. With every technological revolution, you would have seen the way we monetize. How faster, how swifter are we is the question. Those businesses will thrive who adapt well, who take those funds faster. I think they're the ones who are going to get through this, because there is definitely a transition, whether you talk about AI and especially when you talk about language content, the kind of propensity for experimentation is very high. Because you're dealing with certain areas. So for example, I was telling you offline that at Sony Marathi we'll be launching a show where an actor who's 40-year-old is going to play 20-year-old with the help of AI. It's happening now already. Like in month and a half time, the show will be on air. We've already shot, promo is already on air with the same guy. This was not possible earlier. What it is going to give us is a standing out quality. The technology will give you various tools. How you're going to use it is what going to make or break thing. So as you're saying, and especially when you talk about, language content, the more personal you go, more a content goes personal, it becomes universal. As,
More it touches you than...
it is. So at level, as human beings, we have certain experiences. Something that we want to see is translated on screen.
Right.
So more authentic it is, more universal it becomes. That's what K-drama has done.
Right. So again, this is very interesting. You're talking about somebody having a language channel, really innovating out, talking about a 40-year-old, 20-year-old being there. You are also doing a lot of innovations, taking it to Web 3.0 and beyond. So let me ask this slightly tangential question. And really, the agility of the regional players, the language players are coming to the fore. They are innovating with technology, taking it ahead. But there is this larger debate in the world saying, who's going to lead this market? Is it going to be the big tech guys who are cornering the larger part of the tech play? Is it the broadcasters, or is it the language guys? Or let me just throw in, even is it going to be the content creators who suddenly have 200 million, 300 million plus follower base and probably are larger than some of the TV networks from that perspective? So where do you see this going in the next?
I'll tell you, world over, mark my words, the guys who will actually make money will be the guys who are dealing in data. Telecom suppliers or your ISP providers. For example, Jio and Airtel are not in content business. They're in data business. The free 2 GB a day, that is their target, to get it exhausted and sell more data. They're riding on the compelling content to get people to hook on to the content for 2 hours, 3 hours a day so that those GBs get consumed. So the purpose is something else, but good content ensures more data consumption, more patronage, wider coverage. Now coming back to the basic selling model of monetization that we were discussing. See, global market has given a new life. I'll tell you, had the market been the same post-COVID in India as it has been, and the kind of politics which is in ratings and the content marketing, the buying and selling, most of the regional channels would have died. The pressure is so much, they would have died. Your CPRP selling is based on what? BARC rating? BARC rating itself is based on what? 50,000 meters? Does that represent the total amount? No. Similarly, now I have millions of views on YouTube or Facebook. Are they correct? Or I have to believe whatever they're saying? There is no unified rating system anywhere in the world as of today. But we are going towards an era where a unified rating system will come. Television rating points, TRPs, will be replaced by CRPs, content rating point. So today, whatever I'm making, my bread and butter is linear television. So whatever I'm innovating, making is for linear TV. Linear TV here, linear TV in US, Canada, wherever. But my major income can now come from digital stream. But there is no rating system, there is no mapping system in digital existing today, whereas it is the easiest. Earlier, BARC or TAM or INTAM or APAC, they had to invest a lot of money into meters, data gathering mechanism and all that. Now you don't have to. Every telephone, every mobile, every TV is addressable. My DTH is addressable now, my cable is addressable now. I can get data from every mobile phone. The day government mandates, they have to give an API of the data being consumed in video form to the rating agency. That rating agency may need national security clearance, whatever clearance, you can deal with that later. The moment you have a unified rating system, my live stream on YouTube, my live stream on linear TV, my live stream on connected TV, my live stream on fast TV. Together, I aggregate my viewership, and then when I sell that, that'll be a different ball game altogether. Hyper-local advertising will come. A regional channel will be able to survive because from the region, today a Jalandhar-based advertiser cannot afford me because I have one beam. It goes up and I have certain amount of FCT available, which I have to sell at a certain rate. So he can't afford me. Tomorrow he can afford me. My cable operator, my YouTube, my Facebook, my fast TV, connected TV, all of those region of Jalandhar region will be geotagged. Only the ads from that region will be running on that beam, and that advertiser now can afford me. It'll create a revolution. Now what I'm saying is, why global this thing has happened, I'll quote PTC's example. Now the biggest viewership I have outside India is in Canada, then US, then Pakistan, Australia, the whole of Europe, where we have free to air. I mean, mostly either we are free to air or we are ruled by countries where piracy runs the rule. In US and Canada, there is a very negligible number of subscribers who would be subscribing to Dish or Sling or Roger Bell, Telus, Shaw. Mostly it is IPTV. You go to a shop, buy a box, what they call it dabba. You buy a dabba, plug it in, and you've got 12,000 channels running. Every content under the sun of every country, every language available on your remote. So if I can monetize that, if I can get the data, my advertising today supports me because I have that audience. Officially on Dish, I might have 7,000 subscribers only. But unofficially, I reach out to 2.5 lakh homes in USA.
Wow, that's something.
Otherwise, on 7,000 subscribers in USA, would I be doing a $100,000 business in a month in USA? No. But if I'm doing that, that means there is audience beyond the official paid box. So Indians, wherever they are, love to take things for free. Unko koi lena dena nahi bhai, ye aisa hai waisa hai. I need free electricity, free water, free TV, free food, everything free. Wherever they are. So all those countries, Canada, US, developed countries, whatever, they're battling with piracy. They have no cure. They have no cure.
And that's interesting. I'm happy. I'm
But I
living
think
to
it's slowly changing. You know,
Sorry, yeah.
Indians have started paying because if most of you in this room are subscribed at least 2 or 3 OTTs at least, I suppose.
But sir,
right?
I get them in a bundle. I buy a Prime, I get the Prime Video free, Netflix comes from Airtel free.
फिर भी
And that's why they're forced to come to
Netflix,
29 rupees.
जो भी Netflix लेता होगा यहाँ पे, so whoever has taken Netflix, I guess is paying a certain amount of price plus Prime Video plus a couple of regional OTTs, etc., language OTTs. So I think the Indians have started paying, but in small measure. Piracy is still rampant. In India, it's Telegram, or in USA, it's probably the boxes. So I think piracy still exists. It takes 2 hours for a movie to reach Telegram in India. The length of the movie is what it takes to capture back and put it in Telegram. So that's biggest challenge, because the country has to, you know, the policymakers and the people who govern this country have to bring in hard policies towards violators. So I think that will come soon, is my view. If not today, the next year or so it should come.
Interesting you said,
That's the biggest challenge is piracy.
Paris.
Worldwide, it's piracy.
Worldwide. So none of the governments, I'm telling you why, none of the governments have
There
succeeded.
was who made a series on Tamil rockers? Sony, I think, on OTT. So it's biggest piracy of Indian language content worldwide, right? So it's all it's a data game. It's about pushing advertising back. So why are they pirating? Even in the digital world, it's for free. It's to make a business out of it. Operating out of East European nations, piracy will change the dynamics. Consumers are willing to pay, I think. The moment the avenues are shut, they will start buying. They will choose, but the quality will still determine.
No, fair. I think there are the two aspects very clearly put out. So one is the distribution of advertising revenue is still a challenge because the numbers and the data are very different. The language content is growing all the way, and there are streams on YouTube, there are streams on Fast TV, but that's not getting monetized from that perspective. The second challenge obviously is piracy, and like I said, I'm happy I lived the day to hear, because 10 years back we used to speak in these forums, and the Hollywood guys used to say we won't release anything in India because it gets pirated, right? And now we are living here and saying that it's the US and Canadian guys who are pirating it. For all the while. But
They have been doing it for all the
while. Now that we can talk about it. But I want to come to the third part of the challenge. And this is slightly true when you're starting to develop content on the film side, the funding ecosystem, right? There was a fabulous funding ecosystem in the valley and beyond, and which is why all the content innovation used to happen from that side of town. The funding was sort of sorting out, but still I don't see any institutional funders coming into media or content, especially for language content. How do you see the funding challenge? As broadcasters, a parent, and that's fine. But if you're developing individual content, how do you see the funding challenge?
Okay, we actually were some part of the previous presentation we were present in. So one that has actually catalyzed a lot of regional production, especially in movies, because the kind of subsidies. Obviously, it has come from more organic desire to create content which talks and consumer demand for such relatable stories, but that has definitely helped. The other thing which has helped is obviously there are a lot more content creators or a lot more platforms which are willing to buy, experiment. COVID gave a point of inflection as well. So, for example, in Gujarat, for example, we like to believe that in the Gujarati industry, for example, given that we are a decently focused player there, it has catalyzed a lot of production because they know there is a monetization platform. So it will take a lot more people to come together to do it. And monetization challenges will remain, and obviously your funding has to match with what ability to be able to monetize it. If one side overheats, like it sometimes does, if you make an assumption that 100% of India is ready to pay subscription, only 25 to 30% of our population has any kind of discretionary spend scope. Correct. We have to be cognizant, but yes, industry together has to drive that. As in, if we don't balance it out, so this side will burn up and the platforms will dry up, or we won't have good enough content out
the other
there.
Side to get
So if we are making a concerted effort, coordinated, I think Indians will definitely pay the monetizations. It is bound to happen, as in we were in 30-70% advertising subscription revenue for the longest time. Yes, so but there is both the things coexist. Advertising will exist, advertising models in such a large country, but subscription percentage is bound to go up, which will enable a lot of platforms to monetize content which is targeted at more niche audience
and it is
more focused stories, but stories which needs to be told and which will gain traction. Consumers are ready to pay for it, so that is bound to happen.
That's bound to happen. Okay, I know we're hitting the clock. I want to just bring in the audience before I go back to the panel again to sort of ask them about the future view. Any questions, comments from the audience before we get back to wrapping this? Anybody has any questions? Yes.
So how do we see this getting magnified going forward? And how do we see audiences coming in? For instance, thanks to Netflix and other such platforms and Sony Live, we are getting to watch a lot of regional cinema and regional programs which are subtitled. But theatrical is still lagging behind in most cases, though they've started also subtitling and getting Hindi dubs. So how do you see this accelerating further?
I'll talk about Marathi films because I was involved with them. When we started producing Marathi films in 2006, we had a very clear-cut mandate at that point of time, or we had created that mandate ourselves, that we will have subtitle versions wherever we know that there is a non-Maharashtrian viewer who's interested in quality cinema. So typically you go to certain pockets like say Andheri cinemas, you'll find a subtitle version. So I think, and subtitling today has become very, very easy. So it has completely become a thing which is very easily solvable. Earlier, I understand it was technologically, in fact, some of the shows that we have, broadcast shows like daily soaps, are subtitled. So currently on my channel, there are at least 2 slots which are subtitled. So I think it's a relevant thing because that's how we'll reach out to audiences beyond the language, and that's something that's been facilitated by new technology now, and I think everybody's making use of it.
Yeah, but in Tamil, Malayalam, we still have to go that long yard, though Netflixes are doing it.
I'll tell you, there were 2 problems. One was the mindset of the maker. I'm making a Tamil film, only Tamil audience is going to watch it, why I make a subtitle in any other language? I'm not getting a release in Jammu or West Bengal, so what is the point? Second point was technology indeed. Technology now has made it possible to subtitle it in as many languages as possible. Very soon you will find that you will be able to visit a cinema hall, you will be able to choose the language subtitle that you want to see, you'll get a glass, and you will see the subtitles being projected in your glass in your language, whereas you sitting in a theater and watching the same film with everyone else. The language spoken maybe.
What about television? Will that happen with TV shows?
Television is going to get mandatory.
No, it's
the government has already made a regulation where each show now has to be subtitled for hearing impaired. That's the first step. So
Tamil or in Malayalam, not in Hindi.
it's going to follow. It's going to follow very soon. I'll be able to. The problem with TV is I'm only having one beam. I'm going through satellite, which means I project only one beam. The moment government deregulates it, gives away the satellite, I am only wasting foreign exchange. There is no Indian satellite which has the capacity to carry the 2,000 satellite channels that we have. So what do? Millions of dollars we are spending on American satellite, Russian satellite, Singapore satellite. The moment you make it clean for everyone that you can now transport signals through internet, through cloud, through fiber, I'll have 10 different beams going with 10 different subtitles.
No, but you can do it via, you can do transport using a protocol such as ZigZee right now without having...
It's not legal in
No,
India.
it's legal.
It's not illegal in India. Only legal form of transport in India is through satellite, which means you give one beam goes down to the cable DTH and goes out. So you'll have only one subtitle as of today.
No, I'm transmitting. We are distributing TV channels in India, and we don't need a license for transporting on fast television. I don't need a license.
The digital medium is a different ball game.
Fast is different.
Which is what I said.
To answer your
so you
question, many South Indian language movies are already subtitled in the respective OTTs.
Television. That's where.
In television, it's today largely directed to a consuming audience which wants to watch content in that particular language. Honestly, Government of India is mandating it because of certain other reasons, which we'll be forced to do, have started doing in off prime time and maybe one or shows in prime time. The audience which is viewing content on TV is actually irritated with that subtitle.
I want to watch the TV shows. I want to watch. And so do many other people.
You watch it on OTT.
It'll be available.
On OTT, if we can subtitle and give it to the audience which wants to watch it, it's better if it's not forced on television. Because television is still sort of default for an audience which wants to watch content in a particular language. That's the way distribution in Indian languages have worked.
So non-linear TV will have this facility very soon.
I think, and the larger point is well taken, which is that the shifting of experiences of how content language is viewed, whether it is theatrical, whether it is TV, and digital is allowing that at this point in time. And that is what is creating the culture. And once the audience is demanding it, like you're saying, I would love to watch it, it is bound to come to TV, it's bound to come to theatrical. And with visual dub, even the guy is going to speak in a different language and you're going to hear a different language sitting in the same room from that perspective. So,
Raghav, also in theatre, if I'm watching something, I'm here. Theatre, if you're watching content in Cochin, every other language content is subtitled.
Yeah.
Except Malayalam.
Yeah.
But with
So
connected
watch a Hindi
TV
film,
also,
it's subtitled.
things are going to change in time to come.
Yeah.
So the growth of connected TV is very encouraging as of now. So I think CTV is something that's going to
and connected
also
TV with IPTV feed, suddenly you are seeing multiple camera angles. How many times were you used to watching 8 camera angles? With IPTV, that becomes a norm.
All of this becomes possibility. And third most important thing is OTT has developed that audience. Earlier, a guy sitting in, I will say, Chandigarh was never able to see RRR. The movie may not even release. He will not be aware of that content. He is not going to be subscribing to a Tamil or a Malayalam pack ever. With the OTT coming in, all that content is in front of his eyes. People are talking about it. It's getting global exposure. He wants to see now. And to understand it, he needs to either have dubbing or subtitles. So it's a very, very plausible possibility. In the next, I would say 6 months, and all of this will be possible.
That's where the bandwidth expands, right? Unfortunately, we still have only a 45-minute bandwidth and we are going rapid. I'll want to wrap it up by asking one last question. Let me ask this. If there was one thing, if you were given a genie's wish for one thing which will make the local language market really grow, what would be that one thing?
The country has to help us grow like the Korean content. The state has to support us all in each of the Indian languages, roughly about say 8 Indian languages other than Hindi, which makes content in that respective language. Good amount of content.
Okay.
The four
The
South Indian
governmental
languages,
support, the
Marathi,
state
Bangla,
support.
so support.
Fantastic.
State support is, I think, important, and each of the language creators also have to up the quality.
See, for me, it has to be a level playing field. Currently, neither in broadcasting, signal transport is level playing field, nor in the operations of a channel. A guy sitting in a pawn shop can start a channel, but if I have to go and start a channel, I have
need
to
a
have
license.
net worth and all of that. So level playing field, and then ratings. We are only doing ratings of linear TV, nothing else. The unified rating system has to come in to give content creators an avenue to earn.
And a level field.
They will not be at a mercy of a production house or a channel, or if I can create good content, I can get finance for it, I can put it out to the global audience. I don't need middlemen, I don't need anybody else. The content will reign if it's a level playing field.
That's fantastic. Level playing field will make it a very competitive market for everybody. What would you say, sir?
I think, see, I'm not worried about, first of all, global reach. We Indians are going to be the definition of globe like few years down the line. So my content is going to be global content. If there is no over-regulation, like for example, OTTs, and government is doing good work of like encouraging filmmaking, subsidizing a lot of state government. If that happens over a period of time, all will solve.
So right funding with soft regulation, we will rule the world.
We will reach there.
Fantastic.
I would say that government funding, yes, did help Korea because it was their soft power that they were wanting to develop. I think in our country we already have the power of audiences. If we are 1.5 billion people, so we already have the eyeballs. I think as an industry we need to show dynamism to monetize them better. And the problem is the monetization is the critical. So if you find smarter ways to monetize, whether from any other aspect, I think that's where we are going to.
Lovely. Okay. Governmental support, monetization, level playing field, and also light regulation. So fantastic points, guys. Thank you very, very much. This has been a very, very lively session. Thank you, and look forward to a lot more of language content coming to the fore. Thank you, guys.